Uh, Good morning, Dr. Pio. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for a session of special project presentations for our postgraduate students. Tonight, we can have 6 of our students present their special projects. These are reports and studies they have been doing for the last 6 months. We shall have Mr. Boniface Kadabara, Mr. Martin Uboya, Mr. Jacob Obong, Rubanga Kenneth Ronald. We shall have Reverend Father David Chankene, Francis Akena. Our panelists for tonight will be Dr. Stephen Opio, who is already with us here. We shall have Reverend Father Professor Callisto Locheng, who is also already in. We shall have Miss Peace Bear, who I see already in. We shall have Miss Helen Dawino, Miss Lucia Chiro. Our first presenter for today is Boniface Kadabara. So to our students, we shall be looking out for the following tonight. We're interested in seeing your introduction of your subject and your topic. We shall look at your research questions. We're interested in your methodology, the implications of your study, merits and shortcomings, if any. We shall look at your slides and presentation. Then eventually there'll be some questions and answers that you need to give to back to the public. So it's already 1 minute past 2 p.m. Mr. Boniface Kadabara, you could already get ready. If you'll be sharing a screen, please start making that arrangement. I'd also like to inform you that this session is being streamed live on the university's YouTube channel and on the Facebook channel. You, Boniface Kadabara, postgraduate diploma in business intelligence and data analytics. Please go ahead with your presentation. Thank you. Boniface, you need to turn on your camera as well as you present.
Right. Good afternoon, good morning, and everyone. My name is Boniface Kadabara. I'd like to confirm if my screen is visible and people are able to view. I'm already sharing my screen.
Yes, Boniface, we can see your screen and you're very audible. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So as I said, my name is Boniface Kadabara and a student at the University of Sacred Heart, particularly under the Faculty of Management Science. And this is a special project defense, a student of business intelligence and data analytics. And to run straight, my topic is it's a classification model for crop allocation to farmer groups based on machine learning. And particularly, this is taken into consideration the case of Northern Uganda Resilience Initiative. There's a NURI program, the Climate Smart Agriculture Program. To give an introduction, first of all, this is anchored on an agricultural intervention, as you might have seen from the Climate Smart Agriculture Program. Agriculture is the backbone of Uganda's economy. And of course, it's the largest employment in the Ugandan workforce. Of course, it also employs up to 85% to 80% of the agricultural production are coming from the small scale and smallholder subsistence farmers. And of course, we know that the general agricultural production system of the country is rain-fed, and therefore is very sensitive and susceptible to climate change. And of course, we know the impact of climate change interaction with poverty and, the low level of income and diversity has a very big burden, given that our agricultural sector is mostly economy. It's rain-fed, and economy and our livelihood and food security is definitely going to be at stake if very key issues are not taken into consideration. So the background of this intervention is basically hinged and is anchored around the Northern Uganda Resilience Initiative program. This is a DANIDA program under the Denmark-Uganda country program in Uganda between 2018 and 2022. Some of you who must be versed in the northern Uganda, previously there was the RALNAC program in Acholi sub-region and the development assistance to refugee hosting districts in West Nile. This is basically a build-up of that program there. And the objective is basically to enhance resilience and equitable economic development in the northern part of Uganda, including the refugee hosting communities. And the NURI program pursues this objective basically through activities of climate smart agriculture, rural infrastructure, and water resources management. And it's really focused on improving farmers' knowledge on climate smart production, focusing on production for market, farming as a business, and of course, the market chain and other services around there. So the problem statement and the problem here particularly is that, since 2018, from the inception of the program, the implementing partners of this program here, who are mostly the district farm associations or NGOs that are involved in agricultural interventions, have been identifying and selecting farmers or groups to benefit from the program using a manual process, which is often subjected to human error. It's laborious, and also issues of human error and prejudice. Of course, in doing so, these implementing partners also have been struggling to assign strategic crops to the respective farmer groups through a manual process, which is very hectic process. And of course, sometimes this manual assessment does not yield that optimal assignment decision. Of course, there's an uncertainty of what the farmers will produce, what the process of determining and predicting what the farmers may produce and sell for effective development and planning of the production and marketing plan is a very big problem. So therefore, in this study, I adopted the use of a machine learning approach, particularly a classification model, to first of all assign crops to farmer groups, as well as predict production and sales of these crops they are producing based on certain variables, which approach is faster and then more accurate, of course, eliminating the human errors and the related things. So what was my goal and objective of this study here? Overall, the objective was to develop a classification model that assigns strategic crops to farmer groups based on specific production variables. And specifically, I wanted to compare the target and actual production and sales among the farmer groups. Farmer groups have been planning what they will produce and what they will sell. But what is the actual, that, I don't know, the production cycle they are able to produce and actually sell in the market? Of course, to identify the relevant variables for classification of these farmer groups, and to develop and validate a classification model for farmer group allocation and crop allocation as well. And of course, from the specific objectives, those are the questions that I was able to derive, particularly understanding these differences, identifying which variables are important in classification of the groups. And importantly is to assess and classify how this model is performing and how well it is as far as the classification is concerned. So my concepts of framework is hinged on the machine learning circle. So I have the farmer groups, which is basically where the production data comes from. And the variables include the land size, which is a very key variable as far as production is concerned in acres, how much land the farmers are actually cultivating. The production, the yield, how much are the farmers producing? And then the marketing information, how much of this are the farmers selling of the produce? And the prices, at what price they're selling this produce here per kilogram, that is in shillings. Of course, I was able to do data extraction, preparation, and exploration. And of course, based on deploying the machine learning, using, of course, the principal component analysis to identify actually how many distinct groups exist from the general data set. And then training this data set, separating the data set into two, a training data and a test data, and eventually, of course, the classification of these groups based on the output or what you call a confusion matrix, and then the crop assignment. And of course, this is a continuous cycle, because each time you have new data sets come in, you have to run through the same process. And so that is my conceptual framework on which this approach presentation is based. So methodology. First of all, this is a quantitative study, because for it to run principal component analysis and likes, you need quantitative data. And of course, it's also descriptive as well. I call it secondary because I was relying on secondary data. The population of this study was from the NURI program, which is implemented in 13 districts, as you can see, both in Acholi sub-region and West Nile districts, and comprising 4,195 farmer groups. Of course, the sampling method, it was a purposive sampling methodology, and I purposely selected Acholi sub-region because they had a big observation, up to 3,374 observations, that is farmer groups, and up to 84 variables, both numerical and categorical. So it fit in my definition of big data as far as this study is concerned. And finally, also machine learning, you need to train and test on a large volume of data, which I could only get from the Acholi sub-region as far as this study is concerned. Of course, relying on a secondary data, that is the production and marketing data, which has been collected and by the program and stored in an online database, which was extracted in a comma-separated value format, and it was loaded into ARA for analysis. So now, my analysis methodology, first of all, I conducted quantitative data analysis using both Excel and ARA, which is a programming language for statistical computing and graphics. I did, of course, descriptive and frequency statistics and distribution, which used to summarize the data. I did, of course, box plots, which was basically to check for outliers. And then, of course, the principal component analysis, it was used for purposes of grouping these farmer groups. What are my findings? Of course, based on the distribution of farmer groups by district, Agago had the lion's share of the groups, up to 40%, representing 1,365 of the 3,374. Of course, followed by Kitgum and then Lamor, taking the smallest distribution and share of the total number of groups, as per the table and the graphical presentation on your screen. The distribution of statistical groups among the farmers.
Hello, Boniface. I just wanted to inform you you've used 10 minutes. You have minutes for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. And so the distribution of the farmer groups is also based on, as you can see, majority of the groups were engaged in planting sesame, soybean, and sunflower. Of course, granules, beans, and maize taking the smaller percentage as per the presentation on your screen. Then, of course, there are different variables, but we managed, based, as I told you, it was quantitative. So the focus was on the quantitative variables. And those are the 12 variables, as I mentioned, the land size, the production, sales, and all that, as you can see on your screen. Of course, of outliers, I was able to do box plots. And as you can see from the box plots on the screen, you're able to see that there are outliers. For example, in producer targets, there are outliers, income targets. Of course, in the next slides also, I'm able to see the different outliers. And this helped me in outlier treatment. And so that I try to see if the means are slightly normally distributed and addressing that need there. But you can see there were outliers as far as my data was concerned. Of course, I was able to conduct feature engineering of variables. Of course, both a manual process and also using of lasso regression to test how the feature engineering process actually can develop a new, better variable that is the new production target and the new sales target as far as my variable is concerned. And those two variables were chosen because, as you'll see later on from the biplot, from the biplots, production and sales had a both positive principal component 1 and principal component 2, and meaning that were the two variables that were having a positive contribution towards determining my objectives. Of course, I was able to conduct a normality test, that is the Shapiro-Wilk test, to see whether my data was normally distributed. And of course, finding that it was not normally distributed, I had to choose non-parametric statistics to run all the other analysis. That is, of course, where now the Spearman correlation comes in to check the relationship of them among the variables, because now my data was not normally distributed, and Spearman correlation is among the non-parametric statistics approaches for analysis. And so this shows for you, the next table shows for you the normality test results of the variables. Actually, all the p-values were less than 0.01. That is to show you that they were not normally distributed, and why I had to choose non-parametric statistics. And of course, this is the relationship coefficient, where I had both positive and high correlation, as you can see highlighted in red, and of course low, both positive and negative correlation as in the black. So you can see how the different variables are related with the other based on this correlation coefficient tables here. And so the biplot from the analysis is actually a good one, meaning that my data was good. It's able to get distinct groups. From their data, I was able to have 3 distinct groups as by the biplot. Principal component are group 1, group 2, and group 3. And we see, if you look at the group 2, of course, there are basically 3 districts, Agago, Kigoma, and Lamo. You see group 2 had mostly farmer groups within Agago who had unique characteristics around group 2, as indicated by the red. And so the data was a really good one because it was able to pull out 3 distinct groups as far as the biplot is concerned. The BIPE, of course, now I was able to use now crop allocation based on the new groups to determine. Yes, please.
Interrupted, but you have just 1 minute. You should be almost winding up. So if you could take us through the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. So I was able to now, of course, run through the allocations, and we're able to see how the classification model has been performed. And we also doing the prediction based on the support vector machine. And as a conclusion, the principal component analysis shows that there are 3 distinct groups of farmers that exist in the community. The support vector machine model developed is a perfect classification model for the crop assignment, since all the models performed above the 65% based on the confusion matrix. And the model has been tested and works well in crop allocation. Of course, as I told you, there was a test model, and then there's a training model, and then a training data set, and then the test data set. Of course, as a recommendation, the classification model is a less time consuming and should be adopted by the NURI program and any other program that may need to allocate crops to farmer groups. The ARA script is saved for future deployment and used for any data CSA data set from the program. A pipeline should be developed and deployed for future data sets so as to automate the process of testing and interpreting independently before decision making. Of course, finally, recommendations to also test other classification model. Yes, whereas support vector machine worked better in this situation here, but there are other classification models like the logistic regression, decision tree, random forest. We could also test those alternative classification models to see how they may perform in future classification problems. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. And I would like to welcome the questions. And
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Boniface. I will now go back to our panelists. I think I'll start with Dr. Stephen Opio. Dr. Opio, if you have any observations to make on to Boniface.
Well, thank you very much, Robinson, and thank you very much, everyone who's here. Boniface, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I have two questions. The first one is, you have this model. Are you going to deploy the model in the real life? That's my first question. And the second question is, this is basically part of your diploma. What does your organization think about this work? Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll take one more from one more panelist, then you respond. Professor Lo Cheng, you have any observations?
Yes, thank you very much, Boniface. That was a good presentation. But in practical terms, just as Dr. Pio referred, if they ask you, in just short, in what does climate smart agriculture consist for ordinary people? When they ask you, in what does it consist? You know, we can parrot things, but people cannot perceive. Second question, what determined the allocation of the crops? I was waiting to see how you're going. What determines? You have never told us about that. Thank you.
Okay, Boniface, you can first respond to those in a few minutes. Then I can.
Right, thank you very much. I will start from Professor Lo Cheng's question. What is climate smart agriculture? Climate smart agriculture, in basic terms, is agriculture that is cognizant of climate change, and particularly, first of all, we have short rain periods, so planting crops that are varieties that are climate resilient in terms of to drought, which are short-term yielding. There are practices like water conservation practices in our fields and gardens. Of course, if, for example, mulching, drainages that allows you to trap water and then use it during the time of scarcity. Of course, equally producing high value crops that can fetch for you the relevant prices in the market. So in a simple term, those are some of you're using the good timely planting, line planting, and all that. And so what is the determinant of what is the determinant of what location is based on? Now, the variables that we have been collecting data about, as I mentioned, the variables table, we have the land size, the production, the quantity the farmers are selling, and so on. And so based on this component analysis, it is able to group. And so the farmers that has characteristics are about production, the land size. So those variables, the land size, the production, the quantity sold, is able to group. So the determinants of the group allocation and put in the groups is determined by these factors here. For example, soybean being a commercial product, a commercial product, a cash crop, oil, the land size, the bigger the land size, is mostly grown on land scale compared to sesame. So the land size is able to determine and all that. And then to respond to Dr. Stephen, thank you. First of all, this model was already deployed on a smaller scale, of course, to test. When the data was splitted between the training data and the testing data, it was able to test and perform perfectly. Whereas the program has ended, which is at the end of 2022, and there's a design for NORI 2, where we're still using the same modality. So there's a need for internal advocacy, which I am definitely going to spearhead, as being in the Monitoring and Evaluation Department, so that this can be deployed and adopted for selection of groups and allocation in NORI 2. And what does the organization think? Of course, organization is not yet fully data-driven, but we're on that journey, and it involves advocacy, presentation, sharing, really simplifying this so that they're able to understand. So we're on that journey to being a data-driven organization. And I think through the advocacy, we are able to change perception and eventually adoption of these approaches. Of course, it's a new domain, institution, but we're on that journey.
Very much.
Thank you.
Boniface, thank you. Let me hear from Madam Helen, then later Madam Lucy. Could you just make observations?
Thank you so much, Mr. Boniface, for the good presentation. It is a good presentation, but I would like to find out from you, this study, to what category of group is it intended? Is it for educational farmers, help the farmers, or the organizations, the organization where you did the study from? And secondly, what are your recommendations for further studies, since we shall be putting your book in the library and other students will read? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Helen. Lucy, do you have any observations? Then let her, Madam, please. Okay, if Lucy's.
Okay, thank you so much, Tim. I want to thank Kadabara so much. First of all, as the quality assurance, I think this work is really. Are you picking me?
Yes, Lucy, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to say, I think this work was well presented. First of all, the slides and the entire presentation was so good, and the presenter was really so confident of his work. I just want to find out, because I think the study is so good as a faculty or as a university, really, it really gives us positive feedback that really you people learned so much in your course. So I wanted to know whether you have other plans of disseminating this finding further, because I think the finding is so important, because I've also been working with farmer groups and all that, and sometimes you find that groups that benefited from government projects really are suffering because of these allocations, okay? So I think your study and your model is very important and practical, which you could even further develop it, and you sell the idea which can be adopted even by the ministry. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thank
what I
you very
wanted
much,
to
Lucy.
put across.
I'm taking note. I'll have Madam Peace. Madam Peace, you supervise this project. You're in observations. Then Boniface will have just about a minute to respond to everything. Madam Peace.
Thank you, Robinson, and thank you, Boniface, for the wonderful presentation. So I don't have questions for the student because I asked all of them during the supervision. However, I have a comment, and I would like to comment on the methodology that was used to carry out this study. So this study had a range of methods that were explored, and then the student eventually came up with the Savot vector machines as the method that was used to validate the principal component and the groups. So the fact that the data was split into the training and the test data, and then the test data was used to, to test and validate the model. So the model performed very well. So overall, this model can be deployed because the model explains or is as close to reality as possible. But then I want to say that while you deploy machine learning models, you need to be careful of how the data that you're using is. So there should be consistent data collected over time, and it should be available for use at every given opportunity. Otherwise, thank you, Boniface, for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Peace. In the interest of time, Boniface, most of the observations seem to be ones that we can take, and I think you receive a write-up. I will not give you the time. You already used up your time. So take note of those, and we shall continue this discussion outside here. Thank you. Our next presenter for this evening is Mr. Martin Oboya, a postgraduate diploma in strategic management and leadership. Martin, please, you need to turn on your camera, and you can already begin, make arrangements to share your screen to begin your presentation. Thank you. Whenever you're ready, you can start. Martin, just in case you are speaking, we cannot hear you yet. Hello, Martin. We see your screen, but we do not hear you. Okay, I think we have a challenge with connectivity there. We shall jump on to the next student as we shall have Martin in the next presentation. Jacob Obong will be our next presenter, postgraduate diploma in strategic management and leadership. Jacob, please, you can really make arrangements to share your screen. And whenever you are ready, you can begin. Jacob, if you can hear us, please unmute and turn on your camera.
Hello, maybe I would request maybe like 1.5 minutes to come in right away.
Okay. Jacob, Martin Oboya is back. Martin, can you hear us? Please unmute your...
I can hear you. I don't know whether you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Could you please share your screen in that case to begin? Jacob, you can now hold on to the next presentation.
Okay. Yes. I think you can now see my screen. I can now move forward.
Yes, we can see the statement of the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone on the call and those who are moderating the program. My name is Martin Oboya, a student of postgraduate diploma in strategic management and leadership, University Dr. Jean Mwaka. I completed this study on a
Martin, your audio is not clear. We seem to have lost Martin there. Jacob, are you on? All right, I think we should jump forward. Let's go to Ronald Rubangakene, if he's in here. Okay, Jacob is trying to share his screen. Okay, Jacob. Jacob, please unmute. I think we are having connection problems this afternoon. We've lost him again. I would like to request someone who's next. The two, we can come back to them. Mr. Ronald Rubangakene, you are supposed to present later. Jacob, we shall come back to you later.
Hello.
Let's have Ronald Rubangakene. Ronald, are you there?
Yes,
Please.
I'm there, Mr. Robinson.
Okay, it's okay. Please, in the interest of moving forward, we give you the opportunity to present now as our technical team helps these other students.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Robinson, can you confirm if you're seeing my screen?
I'm seeing a screen that has 10 minutes. The problem is that yours? No,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
that's yours. Could you do it again? We had a screen on, but it's off now.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Shared, maybe network on your end.
Anybody else online who could see Ronald's screen, please confirm. Okay, now we can see your screen.
Okay.
Please go on.
Okay, so thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Please begin your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rubangakene Ronald. I'm a student of postgraduate diploma in business intelligence and data analytics. I have I've conducted a research on a topic. My research is looking at the effects of implementing timed and targeted counseling modeling, or TTC model, on the prevalence of danger signs in neonates and children under 5. The case study is from mHealth project, which was implemented in Busia district for 5 years. mHealth Plus, mHealth in full is access, infant and maternal health plus. Is because the project was implemented earlier on for 5 years, then they expanded it to another district. That's why they call it Plus project. And it was looking at infant and maternal health programs, which was designed to be implemented in Tanzania, Uganda, Sierra Leone, and Mauritania, with support from Irish government. This project was implemented by World Vision with funding from Irish, with the goal of reducing neonatal and under 5 mortality rates by 20% and maternal mortality ratios by 15% between 2017 and 2021. The project was implemented in Busia district for the case of Uganda for 5 years. And the background, every year about 300 neonates and infants and 20 mothers die from preventable cases in Uganda. Most of these deaths occur during delivery and with the first month of life. Okay, let me put my video, sorry. So these deaths are mainly caused by complications to mother and child in labor and during delivery, and in association with infectious diseases of poverty, including malaria, pneumonia, sepsis, and HIV/AIDS. So these statistics is still the same, almost for the last 10 years. While Uganda government is grappling with low human resource for health, lack of medicine and equipment, and diagnostic, weak governance and limited resources, World Vision, they have decided to implement a project that can address that. So the problem statement is talking about globally every year, 5,290 maternal deaths occur. 99% of this in developing countries. Uganda has high maternal and neonatal morbidity and mortality ratios, typically of many countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Recent findings reveal maternal mortality ratio of 435 to 100,000 live births and neonatal mortality rate of 29 deaths per 1,000 live births in Uganda. Women in rural areas of Uganda are 2 times less likely to attend ANC, that is antenatal care, than the urban women. Most of women in Uganda have registered late ANC attendance, averagely at 5.5 months of pregnancy, and do not complete even the required 4 visits needed by Ministry of Health. Inadequate utilization of ANC is also greatly contributing to persisting high rates of maternal and neonatal mortality in Uganda. So this study was set to identify associated effect of letting the TTC, the effect of completing the TTC and not completing the TCC in relation to danger signs that, if not well handled, will lead to maternal and newborn deaths in Busia district. So the overall goal of the study was to determine the effects of implementing TTC model on prevalence of danger signs in neonates and children under 5, with the specific objectives of to describe the overall prevalence of danger signs among neonates and children under 5, to establish the differences in prevalence of danger signs among neonates and children under 5 among children whose mothers completed TTC and those who did not complete the TTC. So to determine also the extent to which completing TTC affects the prevalence of danger signs among neonates and children under 5. The research questions, my study was asking 3 key questions. 1, what is the overall prevalence of danger signs among neonates and children under 5? Are there any difference in prevalence of danger signs among neonates and children under 5, among mothers who completed and those who have not? To what extent does completing TTC affect prevalence of danger signs among neonates and children under 5? So my conceptual framework, I have looked at completing ANC visit by mothers as independent variable. So if a mother can complete the TTC or ANC with the intervening variables of maybe the age of the child, So if all of those are put into factor, can it lead to difference in prevalence of danger signs in children? So the mother can complete or cannot complete, but the age of the child can also intervene and maybe give us some other information on the prevalence of danger signs according to the age of that child or other background characteristics. Methodology, the data source, this data is gathered, is a secondary data that I was the one actually responsible for it. I gathered it from VHTs or community health workers who collected this TTC data using ComCare, and they were all provided with funds. So they were doing another ANC approach of home to home or household to household visits to map out all the pregnant mothers and children of children under 5 and the neonates to see how many mothers have completed the ANC, how many danger signs were detected during that visit, and how many were referred for treatment at health facility. The research design, I conducted a descriptive case study, which was used for this. Then the design is largely cross-sectional because we are looking at the population of children, neonates, and also children under 5 and their mothers, with the respective information collected from mothers during pregnancy and after delivery, because they also go up to do postnatal. That is, now you go to check on a mother after her delivery. The research population here, I looked at the population that we were looking at during the project implementation. So it was comprising of all pregnant mothers in Busia, as well as their children born between 2017 to 2021. That was the lifetime of the project. The sample size for my data set, a total of 20,104 children were included in this study. So,
Ronald,
yes,
you have used about 9.5 minutes. You have 5.5 minutes, so you should be faster.
Okay, thank you. The data collection methods, the data was initially collected on forms designed by the Magis in South Africa. That is, they're the one hosting ComCare. And that data was extracted by me into Excel. Then later on, I used it for my research after consulting with management of World Vision. So the methods of analysis, the data I retrieved and I cleaned it. The cleaning, I used ARA to see if there's outlier. I was doing some box plot. Then I used also a bit of Stata, but basically most of my analysis was on Microsoft Excel. The analysis was conducted using descriptive statistics to see how many, the frequency of neonates, how many mothers have completed their ANC. Then of those mothers, how many of them were having neonates and how many were having children under 5. And the chi-square test of independence and univariate logistic regression. The presentation of data was done using tables, bar graphs, and box plots, as it will be detailed below. Variables that I have used in my study, I decided to be realistic. So I have quite a number of variables in that data set. But for this particular study, I've decided to use 3. That is the TTC, timed and targeted counseling. This is a binary variable. So I was looking at mothers who completed all the 4 visits during pregnancy and those who did not complete. Then I also looked at the age category of the children so that I can be able to know which one belongs to neonates and which one are children under 5. Then the last one, the last variable is danger signs. Now this included diarrhea, fever, vomiting, convulsions, chest indrawing, not feeding or bad feeding habits, or when the child is not able to eat, unconsciousness, infected cord, skin, pustules, and history of long cough. So these are the few danger signs which our danger sign indicator was looking at them, and it was guided by Ministry of Health. So my findings, I did numericity test to see if my data is really numerically distributed between neonates and also children under 5. So I did histogram, as you have seen, and my data is not really equally distributed. It shows that most of the population were neonates compared to children under 5. As you can see in the bar graph here, I have 17,888 neonates compared to under 5. There are only 2,916, as can be seen in the table. This table is showing the frequency of how many neonates were in the data set. There are 85.5%, and only 14.5% are what? Children under 5. So the distribution of mothers who completed TTC, 10,865 mothers did not complete that TTC. That contributes.
You have 1 minute. You should now be winding up. Would be more interested in your recommendations, findings, and recommendations. Okay.
Thank you. So 54.14 mothers have not completed their TTC. 45.86 completed their TTC. Prevalence of danger signs. Now, according to the graph, I did logic model to show how completing TTC can affect your getting infection. You find that fever is the highest prevailing danger signs in mothers and children of under 5 and neonates, followed by infected cord, skin pustules, and not feeding well. So, my table here is showing the logistic regression that I've done is to see the difference between these various danger signs with mothers who have completed and those who have not completed. So you see the p-value is showing the significance, and all what are put stars, these are not completed TTC. So it shows that it is significant. If you have not completed your TTC, it is more prone for your child or the neonates to have danger signs.
Now, could you please go to your recommendations? Your time is up. Go straight to your recommendations.
Okay, thank you. In my conclusion, it is very clear that completing TTC by the pregnant mothers has great impact on the prevalence of danger signs in newborn, neonates, and their mothers. So, in particular, completing TTC visits during pregnancy reduces the chances of developing danger signs among children, hence reduce mortality. My recommendation here is mothers need to be encouraged to complete all their TTC visits during pregnancy to reduce on getting danger signs. More research can also be done beyond the scope of this study to determine factors that may hinder pregnant mothers from completing their TTC during pregnancy. This result This results into increased proportion of mothers who complete their TTC and hence reap the protective benefits against danger signs that may lead to death of neonates and children under 5. And also, in order to investigate the effect of completing TTC among neonates and children under 5 separately, we need to have more data because my data was not big enough, was not having the power to study so that we can observe any significant difference between these two age categories. This is important because different danger signs may be also more prevalent in neonates compared to children under 5. And also there's also need to study also mothers, because I did not now look at mothers, but I was looking at neonates and under 5. But the project was looking at mothers also, the danger signs during their pregnancy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ronald. You went beyond by almost 3 minutes. I'll jump straight to, I'll ask Madam Lucy, if you're there. You have any observations? Then Madam Helen can come in next. Okay, so wait for Lucy. Can you have Madam Helen? Madam Helen, can we have the observations?
Hello.
Yes, Madam Helen, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. I would like to say it's a good presentation. The background, you got out the problems clearly, and also in other phases, the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Helen. Dr. Stephen Opiyo.
Thank you very much, Ronald. That was a good presentation. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Boniface. So this is basically part of your diploma. What does your organization think about it? And then secondly, will it be possible for third party to access the data in a truncated format? Because it's very interesting. The data scientists like me, maybe to follow up. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pio. Professor Locheng.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ronald, for good presentation. But one thing did not come so clear is, although you might have come in the recommendation which did not come, is after implementing that, what were the results? Because it seems to be you have not come out clearly. You are only saying people must do this. What did you come up with? Because you seem to have concluded with the same statement of the problem that you started with. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Ronald can respond if I can get to Peace and Lucy. Let's try to be brief. We have just 2 minutes. Okay. Ronald, could you give your response?
Yes. Okay, thank you. I will start with Doctor. Thank you very much. World Vision actually they implemented this in Busia, but they have planned to deploy a TTC approach in all their programs, such that because they have integrated program else with other also programs. So they're looking at knowing exactly if completing TTC will help, because that will also answer what Professor asked. Because we did inline for this project, and much as there is reduction in mortality rate, but still the TTC fellowship is still showing a lot of danger signs that are being captured during any visit for ANC. So World Vision is looking at this so that they can go ahead to program another method of maybe putting TTC, or how best they can incorporate with Ministry of Health to scale up TTC approach. To access this, I think this can be accessed if I ask the authority, because this project has ended and the data is no longer under my docket. I have already handed it over to the management of World Vision. So you can access this after maybe writing to World Vision, putting clearly the rationale for having it.
Thank you very much, Ronald. As Martin prepares to present, I would like to hear from Madame Pace, who supervised this project. Ronald can stop sharing. Thank you. So, Madame Pace, as you conclude.
Thank you, Robinson, and thank you, Ronald, for this presentation. I would like to make a comment. I don't have questions for the student. So the comment I would like to make is that this problem is a problem that still exists largely in the rural areas. And according to this analysis, which Ronald did, so mothers who actually completed their TTC have, their children have over 50% chances of not developing the danger sign. So it's very important to encourage mothers to attend their TTC so that their children can have great chances of not developing these danger signs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peace. That was a good wrap up. Thank you, Ronald. You'll be hearing back from us. So we are going straight to the next presenter, Mr. Martin Oboya of the Postgraduate Diploma in Strategy Management and Leadership. Martin, you started earlier but got interrupted. Please, you are to start. Please keep your presentation within 15 minutes so that we can move well. Thank you. Please proceed. Or you turn on your camera, please.
Yes, my camera is on. Are you able to see me? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can see. We can see.
Right,
just tilt your screen
yes.
a bit, tilt it down a bit. But you may proceed.
All right, okay, thank you. I can move on. Yes, my name is Martin Oboya, a student of Postgraduate Diploma in Strategic Management and Leadership. Under the supervision of Reverend Father Dr. Gino Mwara, we're able to conduct this study on emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness among head teachers in selected primary schools in the Jumani district. The pre-study activities conducted informed us that the emotional intelligence is a critical skills for leaders in this kind of era. And leadership effectiveness considers an outcome when the individuals in the position of leadership are able to impact a group to perform. Much as the leaders are expected to perform highly, sometimes their leadership roles are affected by their level of emotional intelligence. Therefore, emotional intelligence plays a greater role for one to effectively lead. Thus, this study investigated the relationship between emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness among teachers in relation to influencing teachers to perform on their job and to achieve the intended outcomes. So for this study, I adapted the theory of emotional intelligence advanced by Daniel Goleman, 1995. The theory insinuates that leaders who exhibit self-awareness, motivation, empathy, social skills, and self-regulation respond to emotions appropriately. In the problem, what informed this study was that school leaders continue to face a number of stressful situations, both at school level and also in the environment, that is believed to influence their level of emotions and subsequently on their performance and those they lead. In a study conducted by OpenGAT in 2003, most of the critical incidences found among school leaders at workplace involved negative emotions. So according to the district education information from Adjumani, a total of 7,118 pupils dropped out in 2006 and 6,667 dropped out in 2018. So, which is equivalent to a population of the sub-county. So the report attributes this to lack of leadership effectiveness. This trend therefore necessitated a study to be conducted to examine the relationship between emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness to bring this gap in the study area, to bridge the gap, yes. The objectives of the study, the main objective, which is the purpose of the study, was to investigate the emotional intelligence among head teachers to understand its contribution to the leadership effectiveness in the primary schools in Adjumani district. Specific objectives: to investigate the determinants of emotional intelligence among head teachers in the primary schools in Adjumani, to assess the level of leadership effectiveness in the schools in the district, and to determine the relationship between the emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness in the primary schools in Adjumani district. The methodology adapted for the study, first of all, the study area was in Adjumani district, and I studied 9 schools. The study adapted a mixed methods employing both quantitative and qualitative approaches and used a cross-sectional correlation survey design. And we reached a total of 68 respondents in the study, of which 9 were head teachers and 59 teachers. Teachers were given interviews, and the head teachers were given questionnaires to fill, which informed the quantitative aspect of the data collected and the qualitative aspect. So data analysis: quantitative data was processed, entered in the system, and analyzed using SPSS version 20, and the qualitative data was processed and presented in descriptive form to inform the study. Determinants of emotional intelligence was computed using mean values, and leadership effectiveness was determined using chi-square test of goodness of fit. The Pearson product moment correlation was used to determine the relationship between emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness among head teachers in the district. Going to the result, the preliminary information on the characteristics of respondents, especially the teachers and the head teachers, I found that the majority of respondents were male, 61%, and the age bracket, those from 41 years and above, dominated the study with over 8 to 9%. And then the years of experience of the teachers interviewed, 77% are over 10 years and above in service. Further into the results, with the findings on the determinants of emotional intelligence, the analysis of data revealed that empathy was achieved the highest score of mean score, followed by motivation, and then the self-awareness, social skills, and self-regulation followed in that order. So in this case, in empathy, topped the ranking of the determinants of emotional intelligence among the head teachers. And the interview results shows that 31% of head teachers react positively, and 69% react negatively to emotional situations. And the populated responses per the questions or the concerns raised are populated positive reactions and negative reactions. Findings on the leadership effectiveness, the level of leadership effectiveness among head teachers in Adjumani district. From the 9 head teachers interviewed, studied actually, those who agree that there is effectiveness among the teachers having a residual of 8. Residual here means the expected response that varies from the standard values, which is the mean value of the total response is 8, and the p-value, which is the significant level, is less than 0.01%. And also, those who disagree that there is leadership effectiveness, they have a residual of 20. This therefore implies that 20 is above 8, the variation from the normal, which means the level of effectiveness is low. Those who were neutral, they are negative 28. That means they fall below the expected value. So the reason why I adapted the chi-square goodness of fit, because we wanted to test the variation of the level of effectiveness from the expected standards that we have set. There is a value, either value means the p-value that is less than or equal to the significant level indicates that there is sufficient evidence to conclude that the observed distribution is not the same as the expected distribution. And this was shown in analysis. So from the head teacher's views, it can therefore be concluded that leadership effectiveness is practiced to a lower extent among head teachers in the 9 primary schools in the Adjumani district. So this result, when we go down to see the responses from the interviews among teachers, we found that head teachers fall short of following up on the responsibilities that they are assigned to teachers, or spending time in office, they spend less time. The management skills is low, having regular meetings, trusting staff, motivation. Those are the issues that the teachers raise, among others. On the relationship between the emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness, the Pearson product moment correlation statistics.
Just a bit, you have used 10.5 minutes. You have about 4.5 minutes remaining. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Pearson product correlation reveals that self-awareness and leadership effectiveness, there is a positive correlation, and also motivation, leadership effectiveness, empathy, social skills, and self-regulations, they are all positively correlated. However, the result is not significant when tested at 95% level of confidence. So this implies that further studies can still be conducted, drawing a larger sample population in the study, so that we are able to see how effective, how significant it would look like. In conclusion, empathy stood out as the element of emotional intelligence scored highest, implying that the teachers in a Adjumani district are empathetic to the people they work with. Social skills and self-regulations are the key elements that are found to be least when you go into that order. Factors that impede leadership effectiveness include lack of follow-up and responsibility, spending time in office work, and others that I already explained above. Head teachers were observed doing well in areas of maintaining good relationships with staff, and in the community they relate through meetings with the parents, and some head teachers involve the staff and at planning processes. The study also found positive correlation between emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness among teachers. However, it was not significant. Finally, work environment is discovered as a possible factor influencing the relationship between emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness. The study found that issues of overcrowded classrooms with few teachers, especially female teachers, are really, really few. So for the recommendations from this study, it is possible to recommend that the first recommendation goes to the government for the district leadership to consider appointing enough teachers so that they're able to balance the teacher-pupil ratio, especially the women. This will help in addressing gender-related factors. It is also important that head teachers be trained on the elements of emotional intelligence so that they get equipped with the competencies required of them to manage well. Key players in education, including non-governmental organizations, government and school stakeholders, should develop guidelines, policies, and systems that is geared towards ensuring leadership effectiveness in schools. And finally, there is a need to strengthen school monitoring by the government stakeholders and provide on-spot mentorship while creating open communication between teachers and school management. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you very much, Martin. Best timekeeper so far. I think this is very good. We shall go straight to our panelists. I'll start with Madam Peace. Any observations you may have?
Thank you, Robinson, and thank you so much, Martin, for the wonderful presentation. So I have a comment and a question for you. So my comment is the problem statement is very clear, and I'm particularly impressed with the methodology that was used, the tests that were chosen to find particular relationships between the variables in this data set. Now, the question that I have for you, that in your study, you found that leadership effectiveness is low among head teachers, okay? So, and it appears that the teachers agree with this. So with this finding, did you also find that, did they already have internal structures that they had set up to address this challenge, or are there no structures that were set up to address this challenge, even as they are running the schools? Thank you.
Thank you, Peace. Martin, please take note of that. Lucy.
Thank you so much, Tim. And I want to thank Martin also for the good work. I think the work overall is not bad, according to me. I just want maybe something to be brought out clearly in the recommendation, since the issue of emotional intelligence wasn't brought out very well there. Could it be because of emotional intelligence, which is low, or what, since most of your findings were not significant?
Thank you, Martin. I'm sure you've taken note. Could we have Professor Loch, then Martin respond before I speak, Dr. Pierre?
Yes, I am grateful to Martin for this because it's very important for us. One of my questions has already been raised by Madam Peace Abe, but I just wanted to ask Martin whether when there is a problem or a low emotional intelligence or effectiveness in leadership, whether it affects the pupils in the schools. I thought this could have also come because it had a bearing on the pupils. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Martin, you could respond in 1 minute before I can hear from the other two panelists.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. For the first question, yes, these schools that have been studied are schools being supported by the organizations we are working, and we have projects that we do to ensure that there is performance in the schools. But the challenges of those that I have highlighted are being addressed through a number of trainings of teachers that are taking place. But of course, at district levels now, the issues of transfer and insufficient number needs more advocacy at national level. So at the organization level, we are taking this up to ensure that enough teachers are posted to schools so that they are able to manage the large number of children. And this relates to the last question. The performance of children are really affected because you find the teacher cannot manage the class well. The class is large. The head teacher cannot even manage the teachers well. So in the end, the problem now goes to performance of pupils, and really the performance is very, very low. So I'll include that in my work so that it comes out clearly. The issues of emotional intelligence, when we in the study, the significant level was not really to the p-value is not significant. So this therefore calls for, as I said earlier, call for further investigations and involving, if possible, studying all the schools in the district, so that we're able to gauge whether the methodology of choosing the few or the many would really, but the result now shows clearly there is positive correlation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Dr. Stephen Opia, do you have any observations?
Thank you very much again for this wonderful presentation. I'm following up on Professor Ocheng. I think the pupils should be included, because I think if someone is teaching these pupils, it should be correlated with emotional intelligence. And then my second question is, can this also be applied to other schools? Thank you.
Thank you. Martin has taken note. Madam Helen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Martin, for the wonderful presentation. According to your finding, there has been ineffective leadership by the heads of the school. And I've seen you've made recommendations to the government to train, but what do you recommend to the teachers themselves so that they improve on the leadership? Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. You may respond.
Yes, thank you for the questions. On the applicability of these findings to other schools, I think it is in order, because this study was conducted in the community that is having very similar characteristics with many communities. Adjumani is in northern Uganda. It's also hosting refugees, and also in Gulu, when you go around, you find similar issues of low performance, and also the number of teachers are not enough and overcrowded classrooms. So I very strongly believe this study can be applied. And also in the literature, I also got some literature in Western Uganda that studied secondary school, and the findings are very, very similar to this one. Yes. The recommendations to teachers, yes, I thought this study was only focusing on the leadership among head teachers, and the teachers we interviewed were also measuring the leadership effectiveness of the head teachers. But still, this can recommend so that they from this, tomorrow they will become head teachers. So I think I'll include in the body of my work so that they also have an element for guiding teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. For me, on behalf of the Faculty of Management Science, management right now, I think we've realized that strategic management, the component of emotional intelligence, is key. So I think your study is very timely and very significant. And I think it's something that we should see how to generalize or apply in all aspects of management in all institutions. So thank you so much. You may now stop sharing your screen. Our next presenter will be Jacob Obong, Postgraduate Diploma in Strategic Management and Leadership. Jacob, if you are there, you can begin to share your screen, turn on your camera, and let me know whenever you're ready to start. Just remind members, this session is being streamed live on the University YouTube page, and I think on our Facebook page, I'm not sure, but on the YouTube page. So thank you so much. If you have any questions and you're not on the panel, please put it in the chat. We'll take note of this, and we can always share it with the presenters. Jacob, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you very much. Team, the panelists, and everyone who are here. I hope I'm being heard.
You are loud and clear. Very visible.
Thank you very much. As just you have said, my name is Jacob Obong, and I'm here to present my work, a study which I did on the impact of employee well-being on productivity in private sector company. And I'm happy to be taking you through right away. On this work, I did it under the guidance of Madame Lucy Achero, whom we all well know. I'm grateful for this coming out with this work. So to go straight to my work, I want you to get to know, because earlier on I made mention about the employee well-being, and it's good to really get to know what employee well-being means. And in just a brief note, it's just maybe the overall mental, physical, probably economic health of an employee. And when we talk about an employee, we mean those humans, those workers in different setups, be it a company, some people call it organization. So on this study, I happened to note on this work that when we talk about human resources, we mean a lot. We mean the process of acquiring, process of developing, process of maintaining or motivating these workers, because the whole essence is to make these workers achieve the organization or the company's goal. So in the, as part of the background, I would like also us to know that the study has been done on this many times. Probably, maybe I also count myself on people who are improving on knowing what employee well-being and the impact of it on productivity of the workers and subsequently the company. So what do I mean here? There are quite a number of elements that we need to consider when we talk about this employee well-being and its impact on the productivity. So I quite well made mention about few things that we need to take it seriously. And we link, when we talk well-being, we are trying to talk about components of health, components of stability that these employees have in their organization or in the company per se, in line with this study. And I conducted a study, maybe if I missed, on one of the company here in Gulu. It's called Frozen Joy Dairy. So, as I said, employee well-being is not a new concept. It has been there in the developing world. In the developed world, I mean, a number of research has been done on that. Also in our context here in Uganda, I say maybe in Africa and Uganda inclusive, a lot of notice of implementing programs that really boost this well-being. When I mean boosting, maybe I'm trying to talk about making them really working when they are happier, working with a lot of ease, they have enough support, and the like. Quite well that's been done in the real work that you could be having by now. So, what are the issues that I tried to come out with, or what are the issues that the study actually came out with? It has been well noticed that there are quite a number of issues that really make this employee not maybe probably do to their best. You find in many companies, as the finding you will see, like the workers are being taken, they are working longer hours. They are having even low pay. They are not even appreciated. But again, in order to achieve this goal, they need to be happy. They need to be well positioned. They need to be stable, not thinking outside the company. But these are the issues that frustrate them and make them maybe underperform. And quite a lot, the easiness in working. So you find some of this could be handled by the management well, as these people are working under them, but maybe due to negligence and other things, or not listening to these workers' concern, they let them go like that. So this, in a way, has been hampering their productivity. And as we continue, we need to get to the general objectives of this study. As I began, I talked about determining the impact of employee well-being on productivity in the private sector company, and this formed part of the general objectives of the study. And as I made mention, the company is in Nyama, in Gulu City. The specific objectives, as to take you through quickly, is to assess. One is to assess the determinants of employee well-being and productivity. Secondly, to determine the strategies being used to improve well-being and productivity in Frozen Joy. Then the third one is to establish the relationship between employee well-being and productivity. So the research questions, one of the factors to get to know the factors that determine employee well-being in the company. Then secondly, the strategies being used. And thirdly, the relationship that exists between the employee well-being and productivity. So that picture there, when I was doing this new study questionnaire, and that is what were some of the members, the team there. So the significance of the study, I broke it down into like one, the proprietor of the business, where I said here, it will help them, like the business owner, to understand the influence of employee well-being and productivity, which is a significant factor in improving the growth of companies. Then to the employee themselves, they will be informed about their rights and roles in the productivity of the business. And this is quite clear, because when you're working with a company, you need to achieve a goal, and that goal comes from the good or the quality products that you produce. Then to researchers, it will be a source of information that will interest them, and in having some studies again in the field of employee well-being, which is a catalyst for growth of private sector companies. Then to the policy makers, the finding will actually guide them when making policy decisions related to employee well-being. The conceptual framework that actually could let us also get this to understand it better is, when you talk about the employee well-being, we need to talk about, as I earlier said, the mental, physical well-being. So physically, when the employees are good, or the employees are healthy, they can do a lot of work, they can accomplish tasks, and do many other assignments that relate to what they have been employed to. Then the career well-being, as this is what I'm mentioning, whole standard independent variables, which link to the productivity. Yes, so whether the work provides the resources, maybe resources we could talk about, maybe like finances. These people, when they're taken, their concerns probably maybe in terms of finance, in terms of appreciation, in terms of maybe training, promotion, they get motivated and present opportunities for them to do more and have quality work produced, have increase in their quantity produced, because they will be happy and commit themselves. Then we looked at the financial well-being. When the employees are paid well, we all know they are able to really commit themselves to the work that they have been assigned to. Then the social interaction, when you have good relationship between the bosses, the employees and employees, they will always be in support of each other. And the quantity produced will normally be higher or increased from maybe the previous. Task accomplishment, when they help each other, it becomes clear. And the timeliness, because they will be cooperating. Then the emotional well-being, at least here, the employee needs to be in an environment that they are not thinking any other things that may be not related to the work. So they have their mind focused, they can be helped, guided, counseled, and the ability, and they will have the ability to sort out some stresses that will maybe impact them. So you find the independent variables that I made mention are really a good thing in order to enhance productivity in terms of task accomplishment, quality produced, quantity, and timeliness when they're doing their work. The methodology that I really came
Jacob,
out.
you have used 10 minutes of your time. You have just about 4.5 or 5 minutes. Please move faster.
So both qualitative and qualitative method, mixed method, and the data came from the resources, the primary data sources, the secondary data also. I used it. Those were the secondary, those are data that were kept in the organization. Primary, I went and used the questionnaire to get there. The sample size, as I said, the sample population was 35, but the sample size that using the Morgan table came out to 32, and the quantitative data were sorted, and the qualitative data was transcribed also into themes. On the results, the findings here, look at the demographic characteristics, where we found that people who work there, the workers are really mostly youth. It's 70%, and they were male, also 70% majority, and the majority also fall within those who are holding secondary level of education, and majority of them who work there between 1 to 2 years. So objectives on the looking at the elements that influence the well-being. We looked at the health, where we asked some few questions about granting the sick leave, which in this case, in this presentation, was really agreed highly that they actually, the management granted sick leave. And the organization, the key things that we need to note here is also access to medical insurance were really actually not there because they all disagreed. So physical fitness, they also disagreed that they were not having that program. And you look at the organization, maybe probably provide psychosocial support in order to address the stresses and maybe mental kind of issues. Not also there. So these are key things when we are getting to understand this, we need to know. Then we look at the work environment also, where they actually agreed that they're happy working. And they also agreed that the co-workers are friendly and they can support each other. Communication freely, there was also taken note, the research finding also found out that way. Although reasonable working hours in a day, they didn't agree with that, as you could be seen on the table. So these are the findings that could be circulated to you and also get it well understood. So coming out under the objective 1, we needed to know actually whether on personal growth, whether something was really being done. But here, find the employers sometimes taken as sometimes maybe doing the career development. They were not sure. Then utilizing their valuable skills was also not like they do it rarely. And then supporting financially was
Jacob, you have 1.5 minutes. You have 1.5 minutes, please.
So looking at where they sell the product, they sell the product majorly at the local market, and the means that they use to distribute the product is more like on bicycles, and this explains probably why they sell at the local market majorly, because they normally use the bicycle. So determining also the strategies, we see that we get ourselves here. The research actually found out that oftentimes the employers give them constructive feedback and regular meetings. Sometimes they do all this maybe for our consumption to help them iron out some issues that will affect them when in producing in coming out the products for the company. So the relationship also under the objective 3, this is what the finding. I use also the chi-square in order to find the level of significance. But when you look at the table, you find here that H3, which is the employer granting sick leave to the workers when they're sick, it was actually that they're working on, and it has a high level of significance. The rest, like H1, H2, H4, someone can follow from the table, has not been found because the p-value are greater than 5. So you could take it that granting sick leave here is actually having a high level of significance in the affecting the productivity. Then here also my key interest on W1, where they say they are happy to work with the organization, and that's the p-value is less than 0.05. It's actually 0.05, and that means of significance that the rest were not found. This is, I'm talking about the Frozen Joy diary. So we need to take it. That means maybe further studies needs to be done in other companies. So these standard regulations, personal growth, productivity, none of them showed results that were really of great significance in Frozen Joy. So conclusion of any company who wants to grow should enjoy. Sorry?
Jacob, could you please go to your recommendations and conclusions?
Yes, I'm on it. So basing on what the findings is, we say like a company like the dairy company needs to really look at youth, because they are the energetic force and they can do with a lot of maybe a few demands. So, and as we found out that granting sick leaves and also making employees happier all the time make them work harder and smartly, thereby improving productivity. Then giving constructive feedback, delegation of work makes them also appreciate what they are working on. And then areas of personal growth activities should really receive equal attention like others, like granting sick leave. And on my recommendation, finally, I recommended that here the company should provide health benefits for example, health insurance and prioritize health of staff. Employees' concern and views must also be recognized and taken seriously. Appreciation is also well and good. When you do it, the employee will be motivated and they can do work that improves on the productivity. Then to the policymakers also, when making policies, ensuring policies ensuring employees' rights and protection in workplace must also be implemented. It should not just sit there. Thank you very much, team. I'm now happy to take
Thank you very much,
Jacob.
Thank you. You can leave that photo on as we get. All right, I'll come straight to Madam Helen. Would you start us off with the observations?
Thank you very much, Jacob, for your presentation. I have a question to you about confidentiality. I've seen you have put the pictures of the respondents in your report. How do you ensure the confidence? How did you ensure the confidentiality of the respondents as part of the ethics? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Helen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I will respond. You take note of that. Can I have Professor Locheng, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jacob. That's a very good presentation. I just one observation is in the very beginning, you did not clarify so much what constitutes employees' well-being until somewhere in the middle. So I think you have to rearrange, because you started with the human resource management and so on. I thought you could first tell us what constitutes that, and then if there is a problem, so that we are able to say this is it, and then you say in this organization, this is what lacks. Finally, do you think this only applies to Frozen Joy Diary, or it also applies to other entities or companies, or what, according to you?
Thank you very much. May I have Dr. Stephen Opio? Then Jacob will respond.
Thank you very much, Jacob. This is very interesting study. I have just a few comments, not questions. Maybe you can add some more methodology of analysis, because it looks like chi-square didn't do a very good job. And if maybe you can also use some of the methods that were presented by Ronald and Boniface, I think then maybe you can develop models, and those models can maybe answer Professor Lochan's question that if you have these variables and you have these models, it can be applied to other industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Since those were just submissions, could I have Madam Peace if you have an observation?
Thank you, Boniface, and also thank you for the presentation. Hello. Thank you, Boniface.
Sorry,
and thank you, Jacob.
Yes,
and thank you, Jacob, for the presentation. So your presentation was well brought out, but I still have a comment and a question on the recommendations. So these findings here, according to your study population and then the sampling that you did. So do the findings apply to the private sector in other dairy farms that are similar, or are they generalizable to the entire private sector, taking into consideration that the private sector has many different types of industries? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jacob, you can respond.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me begin from Madam Peace. I can come in and say that the findings that have come out from the study of this company, not really be a general findings that cuts across these other sectors, these other businesses that are in the doing the same businesses. Because I would still maybe if I had enough time, but I think I also to like ask for maybe see some other studies, or may also request for others. Others could still come in and do a lot of studies to see whether some of these variables that have been found, or the elements that have been talked about, or the findings came out with, whether it's still the same thing in other companies that are also in the same business. So there's still room for further studies before coming out to generalize it. Thank you. And for Dr. Pio, yeah, this is some work that you have given me to also come and try to compare and also see using other models to come maybe to have the results or maybe the findings that could really speak to this. But this maybe my humble request, maybe these others would also be like hard up or a model that will help on the one that I've already done. But it's a work for me to come out and look at these other models also. I've taken it on a positive note. Thank you. Then on what Madame Helen has said, this falls under the ethical consideration. Really, I should have, I have it worked out actually that there are quite a number of ethical considerations that I came out with. One, we have the faculty before going out to do some do a study. You need to get some introductory letter. That was also one that actually made this respondent actually not being maybe not having any issues with what I want to do or the study that I wanted to get some data from them. And secondly, I was also, I knew that I should be using some kind of polite words, polite language, things like to do, please, I'm here, I'm from the University of the Sacred Heart. I've come to do this, saying thank you to them. And all this made them in the whole process were like friendly and having quite a lot of cohesion when I was with them. Then I made them not really to put their names on the questionnaire. I said it's okay for them to leave their names, so there wasn't any other issues that probably could have made them not to come out with those information or data. And that's, lastly, I told them it would be purely for the academic purpose and nothing else. So they should feel free for that. So all those I have just mentioned, I think can answer what you have, the question you raised. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Jacob, thank you very much. In the interest of time, I will stop. But what Madam Helen was saying has an aspect of something called consent, actually informed consent.
Exactly.
That if you'll be using,
sorry.
Yes, that if you'll be using them, it's important that they consent and that it's informed, that they understand what they're consenting to. But otherwise, thank you so much. Any other observations, you'll be receiving them in writing. In the interest of time, shall move ahead. Our next presenter will be Reverend Father David Chankene. Jacob, you can stop sharing. Just for information, we are joining this audience by Professor Mohammed Sahid. Professor Mohammed is joining us from Cape Town. He's a specialist in business and public management. Later, probably before we finish, we'll ask him to give some observations of his own that he has had. He is also a visiting professor at University of Secretary Gulu, and certainly most of the things we're discussing will be areas of interest to him. So thank you, Jacob. You can stop sharing. We are now, Father David is our second last presenter for the evening, and then we shall sum it up with Mr. Francis Akena. Could we have Father David? If you're ready, you will unmute, you turn on your video. Turn on your video.
Hello.
Father David, good evening. We can hear you and see you. You can share your screen.
Thank you so much, our moderator and the colleagues. I am trying to share my screen. Thank you.
So, Father David, you have 15 minutes.
Once again, I hope I am clear. I am Reverend Father David Chankene Anywa, a student of a postgraduate diploma in strategic management and leadership. And my supervisor is Mr. Geoffrey Lamto, that is our DVC. As you can see on my screen, my topic is the relationship between management styles and effective resource utilization. And my case study is the Lacho Seminary. One of the most challenging factors affecting institutions is the effective maximization of resource utilization. Organizations strive to improve the planning and scheduling of their limited resources. And as we have seen here, we realize that this is a major factor that is affecting most of the institutions, and not excluding where I am also doing my research study and also where I'm also carrying on with my duty as a priest. So we move to the structure, organizational structure of Lacho Seminary where I work. As you can see, we have the trustee being the Archdiocese of Gulu, who is headed by the ordinary, and the ordinary for this matter is the bishop. And for our case, being the archdiocese, our ordinary is the archbishop. And we have the rector who comes immediately, and we have the vice rector. We have spiritual director that comes immediately after the vice rector. Then we have the dean of studies. Then the last group is the group of the formators. This last group composed of even those who are not priests. Some are religious sisters, some are even brothers, but for our case, we don't have brothers in the seminary. When we move to my statement of the problem, you see La Chomene Seminary at the moment has some indication of under-resource utilization, as there are a number of evidences to this, and one of which we have idleness of some portions of land in the seminary. We have a good number of portion of our land that is not being used, and this has caused a lot of problems. A number of people are now encroaching to the unused land. So we also have problem with the materials for building. I can see this should be here. We have wastages of building materials. For example, as you can see, we have some of bags of cement that I found they were being left idle, and some of them were already spoiled. And as a student of management and strategic leadership, I realized there was already a problem if all this amount of bags of cement are getting spoiled. Next, we have some of our timbers already getting rotten under the verandas. Some of you could have had access of reaching the seminary. You would immediately see that some of these materials are rotting here, which should have been used for another purpose that we are going to see. Next, we see a number of building block of about 7 rooms are just falling. It's not being used. So I realized this could have been put into use for another purposes for the development of the seminary. Because my emphasis and the interest is on how best can we use the resources that we have at the seminary. And this can only be done depending on the management style that is being adopted. Objectives of my study. The general one is the study aimed at determining the effect of management styles on resource utilization in La Chaux Seminary. And my specific objectives, as you can see, we have to establish the different management styles used by leaders in the management of the institutions. Number 2, to determine the management styles being used in La Chaux Seminary. And the last one is to find out the impact of the management style in La Chaux Seminary on the resource utilization in La Chaux Seminary. Justification of this study. On a positive note, this study, if it is done, the management style in the seminary will be checked and probably would change for the good and development of the seminary as a whole, not only for the benefit of a few in the top management. Next is the significance of my study. This study was fundamental to provide the relationship between management styles and effective resource utilization of resources in La Chaux Seminary. the study also to help the seminary on the policy and more so on the effective resource utilization. If this study could help to check on whether we have the right policy on how best the resources of the seminary can be put into proper use. Then when you come to chapter 3, that is the methodology, we have descriptive, which is a description of the area where this study has been done. Descriptive survey design was used in order to be able to obtain primary data from the people of Lacho Seminary where this study was specifically carried out from. We have study procedures. The researcher received a letter of introduction to the field from the faculty dean of University of the Secretariat of Gulu, met the management of Lacho Seminary and explained the purpose of the study and was given the permission to interview targeted respondents, and access to the secondary data relevant to the study was also permitted. And of course, even the student, the staff, and support staff permission was granted to have access and primary information is got from them. Description of my geographical area. We have Lacho Seminary where this study was carried out is located in northern Uganda. For some who might have not had access to, it is in Gulu Archdiocese, Amoro District, Kelak County, Lambogi Sub-County, Lacho Parish, Lualakwa Village. This is where Lacho Seminary is found and where this research work was done from. Description of the population of Lacho Seminary. Lacho Seminary is occupied majorly by religious leaders headed by the rector, and they are in charge of forming young men aspiring to become priests. Currently, Lacho Seminary has 4 priests, 3 religious sisters, 35 teachers, 25 support staff, and 205 students. As per last year, 2022, this was the enrollment of our students. Sampling strategies. Here, the researcher.
David, just for information, you have used about 10 minutes of your time. You have 5 minutes. I suggest you move faster. Okay.
Thank you. I distributed 100 questionnaires and 95 were filled, and 10 people, respondents, I also interviewed them. And this would bring us to a number of people I interviewed to 105. As you can see, the technique I used to collect the data, after having got the information I needed from the respondents, I was able to put them down. And I believe you already have my work as presented by my supervisor. And I put them in a number of tables, photos, and so forth. These were the techniques I used. And then in data collection, the procedure which I used here included interview guide. I distributed to these respondents, and the questionnaires I was able to have time with those who were not able to write, and I had time with them. Then I was able to analyze whatever I got from them, which was relevant to my subject of study. And the point of my study or my subject of study, majorly we're focusing on physical resources, human resource, and then financial resource. I got information through analyzing these documents available, especially the information relevant to this study, the data about financial management system in the seminary from the audit report, school fee payment record, records from the sales and hiring in the seminary of their product, daily attendance of the workers, records about animals, recruitment mechanism, records for the employee development, minutes for the different meetings held, and the content of the meeting. The above helped the researcher to discover the management styles of the different managers at different levels. In my presentation of the findings, the researcher organized and sorted out the relevant information as reflected in the researcher's objectives. And as I don't know whether I shared my objectives. My objectives, just a reminder to establish the different management styles. I already shared this. So these three objectives were the major guides to me as I was presenting and then trying to analyze whatever I got. The data presented and interpreted in this chapter was collected from three categories of people, as I put it: student 55, support staff 20, and the teaching staff 30 of them. The data was extracted from the questionnaires and interviews given by the researcher himself. The researcher distributed 100 questionnaires, as I put it. It is the reputation already. And then we have now
just 1 minute. Could you please go straight to recommendations and conclusions? Thank you.
Thank you. Recommendations and conclusion. Here we have the management of the seminary should engage and consider the opinions of the employees, since they are people of expertise in different areas of their qualifications. The management of the seminary should give room to the departments to supervise their departments and later on account to the top management for easy coordination and collaboration at workplace. My next recommendation: the management of the seminary should follow the budget so that all the departments are able to effectively accomplish their tasks. Next, the seminary management should be able to invest in its labor force through rightful recruitment, induction, and training of their staff for more skills. And then we have, in conclusion, the success of any institution, as I have found out, relies solely on the effective management. If the management is very receptive to the proposals, opinions, and also the insights of the employees, you would realize that the success of the institution will immediately be realized through the effective utilization of the resources. But as we have seen in our findings, you realize that what was found out, basing on the three types of management skills that I found, that is autocratic, democratic, and then laissez-faire. For La Chose Seminary, as per my findings, a number of indications shows that the management skills being used there, styles being used, is more of autocratic, because you would come with your proposal and then sometime it is taken, but you will not see it surfacing when it comes to execution of what has been brought out. And as you can see from the presentation, you will realize that 70 of the respondents were agreeing that the management style of La Chose Seminary is more of autocratic. And that is why, in my conclusion, I am recommending if the management could go on and try to engage the employee of the seminary, would help to effectively utilize the available resources of the seminary. Thank you so much. The time.
Thank you very much, Father. Thank you so much for your presentation. I will have to cut it short in the interest of time. I'll go straight to our panelists. I'll start with Ms. Lucy Achero, if you're out there. And after Lucy, Professor Locheng may come in. Ms. Lucy.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. I hope you're able to hear me well. I have a few observations to make. Are you hearing me?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
Are you able to hear me?
On.
Yes, please.
From the other side. Yeah.
Lucy, we can hear you. Please proceed. Okay, could we have Professor Locheng as Lucy?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm ready. If Lucy is not there.
I'm here.
Okay, let Lucy speak now.
Okay, Lucy.
Okay. Sorry, Tim.
Hello.
My laptop, I don't know whether because of network, I'm behind. In my laptop, the presenter is still making his presentation, so sorry for that. I would like to make a few observations. The study is very important and very good, and I think I would also love to ask if the study finding could be replicated in other seminaries, since I believe that they're all having a similar setting and the leadership styles are all the same. My mic is muted. I don't know. Hello. Okay. Another thing that I would like to raise is that in the background,
Listen, we can hear you. Please proceed.
there are no. Yes, in the background, I'm seeing there are no citations, which could be improved by the presenter. And then, lastly, about the results and in the recommendations. Since now in the presentation, he has raised that the resources are getting wasted, okay? Which means they are being underutilized, and maybe because of delays in making decisions and all that, it's affecting. So what is his recommendation so that effective utilization of the resources are done on that point? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Father David, I hope you've taken note. Professor Locheng.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Thank you for your presentation. I have one observation. I think in the beginning, when you say 50 bags and 7 rooms, that one you should have summarized it to say just unused resources rather than putting in the way you are putting it to look like a complaint more, which does not allow more of a research than anything else. Just say there are some unused resources. And then finally, I want to ask you whether this is a question of leadership, which is it a question of leadership, which is a problem, or the system? And if it's the system, there must be 3 institutions that you have not tested with. There is the church and an institution as far as the seminary is concerned. There is the archdiocese, and there is the institution of the seminary. And these have their own traditions, and you are there. I don't know what you can say about them, but I appreciate what you have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Cheng. I'm sure Father David is taking it. May I have Madam Peace Isabel?
Thank you, Robinson, and thank you, Father David, for the great presentation that you've made. I have a comment and then I have a question. So the comment is that the problem statement is clear. We're able to understand what the problem is and why you are taking up this study. Now, my question is, these recommendations that you are giving to the seminary, are they entirely new recommendations, or are these things that were initially tried out as a solution and maybe did not work, or maybe has not yet achieved the intended outcome? Or does this study not have enough information to determine whether these recommendations will be entirely new if they are adopted and implemented? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peace. I'll ask Madam Helen, then Father David will respond. Mr. Geoffrey Lamto, who supervised this project, is in here. He will make his final comments after you. Thank you. So Madam Helen, please.
Thank you so much, Father David, for the presentation. You have been very clear, and it is a very important study. But I would like to emphasize again what has already been said, especially the problem statement. You have no citation for the problem statement, and your readers may not really know exactly whether those problems are there or were there. Whether you got this from a monthly report of a particular month where it was documented. Okay, you talked about documentation, analysis of documents, but you need to be specific on particular document where you got this information from. Otherwise, these resources, materials will rot and disappear from wherever they are stored, and no one will be able to find out whether they had such kind of problem. So I would also remind you that before you present this report, you finally bind the report, please take the advice of Father Lucian, Father Callisto, about stating that there were unutilized resources. Otherwise, it can be emotional, can bring kind of emotion. Please take the advice and work on them before you submit your paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe before Father David respond, may I have Mr. Geoffrey Lamto, who supervised this project, please? Could you have any observations, Mr. Lamto?
Thank you. Do you hear me? Are
Yes,
you getting
please.
me?
You are very clear, Mr. Lamto. You are clear.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have read through this. We work with the student, so I do not have any question for the student. All I can say is that the panel members actually need to read the details of the report. I understand the report was sent a little bit late because some of the questions that they have asked are actually in the students' report, like citations. Of course, when you're making presentation, you cannot have all the details about citations. Even the question on whether it is leadership or system, the student has given the report in the data analysis, only that it didn't have enough time because the questionnaires that the respondents gave is based on that. And for example, where the employees feel that they do not receive instruction from their supervisors, but directly from the central administration. These are evidence that it is actually the leadership rather than the system. They are there in the report, okay? But of course, it has got to go back and make sure that it's not leadership, but the system. And I think the problem, which he has stated, exactly what he found out. Okay, I do not want to talk much about that, but he has quite a lot of interesting findings, because I think the whole idea was to find out the best way to solve the problem which is there. So he has done this analysis, and then of course I encourage him to take all the comments from the panel members so that when, if it's necessary, he revises his thesis to be consistent with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamto. Father David, in about 1 minute, could you please wrap it and respond to this?
Thank you, Mr. Rubishan, and all the members for the comments you have made. To respond, adding on what my supervisor already gave, according to Madame Lucy, was asking whether this leadership style cut across in all the seminaries. I have been to the seminaries as student. There are certain things that I could not easily notice, but now as a priest who is now working in the seminary, I'm able to see certain things which I was not able to notify when I was a student. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying, this management style, which I found out from Lejo Seminary, in one way or the other, you would see similarity also in other seminaries when we are observing as students. So that is briefly, it may not really be that it is the same style that you would see cutting across in all the seminaries. No. Number two, recommendation on resources already, my supervisor already brought the insight. I already have a number of references to what I brought forward, which if you are able to have time and you go through my work, you would see what I quoted, but I'll take it positively to improve. Thank you so much, Professor Callisto, for polishing and the language I should use. I will take it positively to make it not so emotional as it is put. On the issue of leadership or system or the charge, as my supervisor already addressed in my report, I was able to have time with the workers, and what I got from them was what was really showing that you would see there is question of a system that you just come in and you see it is moving on, and that is what I found from my findings. So leadership and more of the system. And according to Madame Peace, Madame Peace, the concern of Madame Peace was whether these recommendations are the new ones or at first it was raised but not considered. And Madam, I'm 2 years old in the seminary. I've just been taken there. So according to me, I don't have any proof whether these recommendations were at first brought forward, but I see on my arrival at the seminary, I saw a number of what I came up with, and that's why I came with these recommendations as new ones.
Father David, thank you so much.
Yes,
in the interest
please.
of time, I will have to now cut you short, please. I thank you so much. I think you've given satisfactory response. Our next presenter for the evening and last one will be Akena Francis, who is doing postgraduate diploma in business intelligence and data analytics. Father David, you can now stop sharing. As we are here, informed you, we are joined by people from all over the world. In the audience, we also have Dr. Mark J. Botha. He's joining us from Cape Town, South Africa. Later, before we wind up, we shall just have them say a few words and give their just overall observations as we put. Akena Francis, you have 15 minutes for your presentation, and you can let me know whenever you're ready to start. Please turn on your camera and unmute your microphone.
Can I 16? It's unfortunate.
Francis Akena, are you having any challenges? Please unmute your microphone. Francis Akena, his study area was for food cost optimization and price fluctuation in Uganda. He has a case study of Northern Uganda. His supervisor, Mr. Patrick Okot, is also in here. So Francis, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm trying to put in my system on, although the system is a bit fragile. Some few minutes, I will be presenting.
Good afternoon, members.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Patrick, you are welcome.
Thanks.
I informed you that we are joined by Dr. Mark. Dr. Mark is his area of expertise is business and commerce, and I'm sure food cost optimization will be an area of interest to him. Francis, could you please, if your presentation is taking long, you can even go ahead and start as it will find you on the way. If you could just present, we are watching you, please.
All right.
Francis,
So,
Francis, you click on the green button. Share screen.
This one. So my computer is a bit fragile. I don't know. Okay, some minutes is coming. So about my topic is about food cost optimization and price fluctuations. My name is Akena Francis. My course is business intelligence and data analytics. I'm being supervised by Mr. Patrick Okot. To waste no time, I have to go to the background of my studies.
Francis, just go ahead. Yes. Go ahead, explain. We are seeing you. Don't mind. Technology will always be a challenge.
So the background of my studies is during this period about 1 year back, there was a lot of problem during COVID-19 period, where the whole world experienced high cost of everything, including foodstuffs. So this has brought a calling that there should be a study that should be carried out that in case can bring any other solution or some prediction that can make the farmer and the consumers of the foodstuff can be solved. So the study was done on selective crops like the maize, the beans, the rice, sorghums, the soybeans, and other crops which see in the slide. I don't know the problem in the system. But as a student of data analytics, the software that I use for analyzing this research or the study was Excel. The problem statement that has made me to come out to take a study on this problem was about there is high cost. The high cost of foodstuffs can harm the consumers.
Mr. Kenna, I think Mr. Francis Akena is experiencing technical challenges. We'll give him just 2 minutes. Hello, Francis. All right, I think we have lost Francis. We shall make arrangements on another day to schedule Francis. In the interest of time, I just want to have conclusive remarks from our panelists, just generally about presentations we've had today. I'll start with Dr. Stephen Opiyo-Ball. I'll come to everyone. Then Dr. Mark and Professor Mohammed, we may ask you to say a word or two. So Dr. Pio, your remarks, just observations, general observations tonight.
Thank you very much, everyone, the panelists and the people who are attending online. I think the presentations were really good. I like the way the presentations were made, and I think we learned a lot from that. My take-home message, since I'm a data scientist, I think we have a lot of data that we can use, and kudos to all those presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, my Dr. Pio. Ms. Pisabel.
Thank you so much, Robinson. Thank you, the panelists, and thank you, everyone. I would like to thank the students because they have put in a lot of effort and they are able to translate what they studied to answer real world problems. Just like Dr. Pio said, as a person that was supervising students that are doing data science projects, we are very much interested in exploring those various data sets because aside from what we have presented today, there's so much information that can be mined from this data to come up and answer various research questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peace. Madam Helen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robinson. Thank you, the panelists and the students. There have been good presentation, just like Madam Peace said. At least they are able to translate what they've studied in the class to the practical, to their practical work. We hope the rest who are coming and have attended this program are also learning a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Helen. Madam Lucy, if you're there.
Thank you so much, everyone, and the Faculty of Management Science for considering organizing these presentations, because it was already behind schedule, but we thought it wise at least to help the students who had submitted already, but a little late. I would like to thank the supervisors in their various capacities for supporting the students. And I believe that what we have seen today really should make us proud that at least we are doing something and we are contributing to the goal of the university. I've seen the work is really of good quality. And as the quality assurance officer of the university, I must say that I'm grateful for everything you're doing to support our students, and we can proudly now graduate these students come 25th. And we believe that with what we have seen at postgraduate level, we are hopeful that these students will do wonders when they go for further studies, and it will improve also on their delivery at their different workplaces. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again, Madam Helen. I'm aware that the Vice Chancellor is in audience. I'll later ask him to say something, but I would like to ask Mr. Lamto, who is the DVC, he was a supervisor, but he's also in charge of academics. Any observations, general observations you've had this evening, you may have?
Yes, thank you, Dean, and the panel members. I think the presentations have gone very well. We want to thank the faculty and all the members for your time. I think we are on the right track. In terms of academics, I think we are doing well, and I believe that even for future presentations, we are ready to improve as a university. I think the quality is generally good. And eventually, I think when we go to masters, we shall even have a high standard of presentation. This has been very encouraging. And I want to thank our colleagues from South Africa who are also listening. I believe they have very good advice, technical advice that they should be giving to us as a university. Thank you so much for being in attendance. And we look forward to hearing further technical advice from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Professor Locheng, could you have some observations as I prepare to welcome Dr. Mark and then maybe Professor Mohammed to say a word. Professor Locheng? I think we lost Professor Locheng.
Is it me now or somebody else?
Oh, it's you. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, what I really wanted to say much is so been said by the DVC, the same with the Dr. Pio, whom we must always be grateful for missing a lot of sleep and be there for our students. And I thank the chair for managing time, really, because without managing time, we cannot go very far. But it is so exciting to see new knowledge being generated. And that's why all of us are here. That's why there is no boredom, because there is new knowledge that comes from the research of our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Locheng. Father Gino, Dr. Gino, if you're in, I will request you to just say what, then you probably invite Dr. Mark and Professor Mohammed to introduce them here. And Father Gino, you're welcome.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate the Faculty of Management Science for a successful organization of these project presentations. Can you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So I want to congratulate and thank the Faculty of Management Science for successfully organizing these project presentations, and thank the lecturers and professors who have worked with our students on their projects, and thank the students also for working on these projects, as well as trying to integrate what they learned into class into real life situations. This is why we exist as a university, and this being the first set of pioneers, you are paving way for the others. I'd like to also thank, and may I say also introduce the two who are from Cape Town, Dr. Mark Jonathan Botha, who is, we have appointed a visiting professor. This area is business and commerce, and also Professor Mohammed Sahid Bayat, who is also a professor of business management and public administration. We are working with them towards the establishment of a campus of University of Sacred Heart in Cape Town. This may be a surprise to many students, because the ideals of what we are trying to work for here is global. So with this, I thank the two for joining us also. May I ask Dr. Mark to say something, and then after him, I'll ask Professor Bayat to say something. Thank you. Mark? Professor Mohammed Sahid.
Hi, good afternoon, colleagues. First of all, thank you to Father Gino for appointing both myself and the university for appointing us as visiting professors. And we're really happy to be able to work with the university. I must say that this afternoon for me was very, very informative in relation to both the diplomas that were being presented here in respect of the projects. I found that the students constructed their projects very well, and there was quite a good sense of depth and insight, and the recommendations, in my opinion, were fairly well thought out and presented. The research as well was undertaken quite comprehensively, and in this regard, I want to thank the supervisors because I'm sure that they played a very good role as well in terms of assisting the students. If one looks at it, for me, what was very evident, and that's why I'm thanking the supervisors, and I think even the dean and the faculty, because it was clear that theory was definitely blended with practice in terms of these projects, because of the insightfulness and the types of recommendations that the students came up with. I also think that the panelists made some very valuable comments and insights for the individuals to consider. For me, by and large, it's each one of these has the potential to be translated into an academic article. And I think that, serious consideration should be given by the supervisor and the student to probably co-publish some articles here. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to assist some colleagues in terms of reviewing potential articles that they put up. And perhaps, if your numbers grow, I don't mind also supervising one or two students in this regard as well. So I must say, really, it's been a wonderful experience. I think the quality, I've sat in seminars in terms of honors, masters, and PhDs. And I can certainly say, and I want to echo what the DVC's words were in terms of DVC Lamto, where he said that, this is also a stepping stone in a sense towards masters. And I think that already the potential is there in terms of the kinds of quality and the way people have presented, because I just participated in some oral presentations on Tuesday, and I can actually tell you those were for masters. This certainly is on par in terms of what I heard here today. The one criticism that I have, and I think take it with the respect and humility that I'm saying, and that is that I found that students try to rush at the end because they never pace themselves very well in terms of completing their presentations. So perhaps we should get them to do a dry run beforehand. Otherwise, consider increasing it by 5 minutes, and in that way they can complete it. But that's not really a criticism. It's just an observation that I made. But otherwise, well done to the colleagues at Sacred Heart in Uganda. I think you guys did excellent, and also congratulations to all the students for work well presented. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
Professor Bayat. I just want to confirm, Mark, Dr. Mark Botha. Can you say a few words, please? Seems like we are not getting through to Dr. Mark.
Okay, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
I've also can I talk? Yeah, I've looked at presentations of presentations, and I will echo what Professor Said was saying. Were very high caliber, and even from my side as well. I mean, I will see how I can also assist some of the students to work on an article or two. There's definitely potential. There's definitely I can see publications that came out from today's presentations. So I must say, well done to the students. They've done an excellent job.
Thank you very much. Again, we are grateful. This is basically your first encounter with what we are doing here at the University of the Sacred Heart. Otherwise, they think that we have shared in documents or by word of mouth. So it's good that you begin to get a feel of what we are doing here. So again, thanks, Dean of the faculty, and back to you, Dean.
Thank you very much, Father Gino. Considering, thank you, and thank you everyone who was here. We received very many last-minute submissions from our students. We had intended this to be the very last presentation session, but it appears we may need to have to schedule one last presentation to enable students who have completed their courseworks and exams to qualify for graduation. We shall be communicating as a faculty and to schedule some more students to present their papers sometime probably next week. Otherwise, thank you so much for making time. Congratulations to the students who presented today. Make changes to your papers based on the recommendations made today. And we look forward to even further engagement. Thank you, Dr. Pio. Thank you, Pisa Bear. Thank you, all the panelists, Professor Lecheng. I can't thank you enough. And for professors and everyone else who has made a point to join us, we really appreciate. I'll now have to bring this meeting to an end. But I appreciate and look forward to seeing you again if we invite you the next time. Bye-bye, everyone, and have a good evening or good day ahead. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.